Why do real estate deals fall apart? It happens, it sucks. Here's why. What's up guys, Lewi Gault here. Welcome to the channel. As always, we do weekly tips for buyers, sellers and investors in the real estate market. If you haven't been here before, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, comment if you have questions, and let's get into it. Today we are talking about why real estate deals fall apart. And they do. And when they do, it sucks. Who does it suck for? Everyone. Sucks for the seller, sucks for the buyer, sucks for the agents, sucks for everyone. Okay, number one, the biggest one that kills deals all the time is the home inspection. Home inspections, as you've heard me talk about before, is where the most emotion in the deal is. Why? Because it's not just the agents who are getting this deal done. The buyers here, the sellers here, and their emotions and their wants and needs are coming to the forefront, and that's how it can clash. Now, a few different ways it can happen. Buyers can ask for everything under the sun, which you shouldn't do. Really what you want to be doing in your home inspection is asking for big ticket items, HVAC, roof, sewer, electricity, that kind of thing, safety things and big ticket items. If you're looking for like light switches and stains on carpets, or whatever, anything you want to ask for, we'll do it. But I'll always advise you to ask for the big ticket items instead of small things. Because the more petty you get with these little things, the more petty the seller is going to be back to you about not doing those things. So you might ask for a sprinkle of little things with some big ones as well, and the seller will be like, all right, I'll do all these, but I'm not going to touch the big ones. So it can be tough. Now, on the seller side of things can fall apart because you're being stingy. And it just is what it is. You're being super stingy. So as a seller, when you're selling a house, when I talk to people, you have to prepare to spend some money, or at least to give away some of your money at the end of the deal to fix some things. Because guess what? Your house is not perfect. It just isn't. There's things that you might not care about that you haven't attended to. Maybe the HVAC system, maybe it's the sewer line, maybe it's the plumbing, maybe there's some electrical issues that you haven't dealt with before, but you don't really mind. But if a buyer comes in who has a young family and they want to get those electrical issues, that's going to be huge for them, and you don't care about it because you haven't thought about it. Now, so we have to meet in the middle. We have to be good and civil to each other and work this deal together. Really, in a real estate deal, you're trying to work as a team. It's not the buyers against the sellers and we go and, we go hard at each other. It's not that at all. We all try as a team to get this thing done. What does the buyer want? What does the seller want to do? Let's meet in the middle somewhere and figure it all out. So if I can give any tip to you at all, inspection, try and be fair-minded. Try and think about, if you're a buyer, try and think about if you were selling the house. And likewise, if you're a seller, try and think about if you were buying this house with a fresh set of eyes, and you'll be fine. Next one is closing costs. This should never happen, but it does. And it actually happens quite a lot, you'll see. What I mean by this is that a buyer will take out a loan, they'll get pre-approved and all that good stuff, and they'll get quoted for closing costs. And they're like, okay, this is how much I need to close at the end of the day. When we get to the closing table, I need this much. Now, when they get there and when you get more in towards the deal, that number might escalate a little bit more and you're not prepared for it. This can happen for a few reasons. Maybe some of your work history didn't check out. Maybe some of your taxes weren't filed. One of the big ones is maybe you spent some money that you shouldn't have while you were under contract, which is a big no. Do not do that. I've had a deal blow up before because we were under contract and the buyer decided to go out and buy a Harley Davidson and take out financing for it, which was a great idea, obviously. Thank you for doing that and killing the deal. The reason that I blew up the deal was because now his debt to income ratio just reduced. So he had more debt than he had coming in, as where he did when we started the process. So he was good to go, and then he was an idiot and bought a Harley Davidson, and now the whole deal's screwed. I also had another deal go sour. We managed to close it, thankfully, but the lender screwed up and gave the wrong numbers. So 2 days before closing, my buyers found out that they had to come up with an extra $5,000 for closing. And we were like, what? Where did this number come from? And it was a lack of communication between the lender and the buyer. So buyers, I can't stress enough, get a good local lender who has great communication with you. If you have one of these online lenders who you're just going back and forth with on there, I can't stress how much that's a bad idea. Get a local lender, you know where their office is, you know what their phone number is, you text and call them all the time, keep things up to date, keep each other in the loop, and you'll be just fine. Okay, the next one is the appraisal. This can be a sucky part. So we're under contract at 500,000. Okay, great, everything's going really well. We've got through inspection, the loan's looking great. The last thing is the appraisal. Now, what that means is the lender is going to send out an independent appraiser to walk through the house and put their value on it. So what we're looking for is for them to come back and say, oh yeah, boom, we're at value or above, which means, hey, you're doing great. This home is what you're going to pay for it, or actually maybe worth more than what you're paying for it, which is phenomenal. The worst thing is when they come back and say, hey, this $500,000 house is only worth 485. So now you've got a 15,000 discrepancy. And the big problem is that now your lender isn't going to lend you 500, they're going to lend you 485 because they go on the appraisal. What does that mean? It means you, as a buyer, have to come up with an extra $15,000 from somewhere. There's a few ways you can do it. You can just have the $15,000. It doesn't happen a lot. The biggest thing we usually do is negotiate with the seller. So can we negotiate this price all the way down to 485 so we don't have to bring more, or meet them halfway or something like that. So the appraisal can be super tough on the deal because the seller might not have that amount of equity in the house. An extra $15,000 they might have not accounted for, so they might not be able to do the deal at all. So appraisals can kill deals. Next one is the lien on a title. Ugh, lien on titles suck. These are tough because as a buyer especially, and an agent, you don't have a clue what's on the title. Now, what do I mean by that, on the title? It means, so if I own my house, but I owe the IRS $20,000, and they're like, yo, we want that back now. They're going to put a lien on the title here, which means if I am selling the home, I have to give them $20,000 out of the proceeds. If I'm going to sell this house and walk away with $50,000 in my back pocket, I have to give them 20 of that. So now I'm only going to walk away with $30,000. And that can suck for a number of reasons. One of the big ones is that I was banking on $50,000 to buy my next house, but now I only have $30,000, so I can't sell the house now because I don't have enough to buy a new house. So liens on title can be super bad, and they come up at the last minute. Sometimes we don't know about them until like a week before or something like that, where title contact us and say, hey, this title's not clean, we've got a bunch of stuff going on, and there's really nothing you can do about it. The best thing that you can do as a seller is to tell me or tell your agent up front if you do have any of those liens, because we want to get that dealt with before we get it on the market. Now, if it's a small thing like, $5,000 credit card lien or whatever it is, then okay. But if it's a big one, it can be trouble, and it might mean that you're not going to sell the house at all. Okay, next one, buyer's remorse. Oh boy, buyer's remorse. That's a real thing. We see this quite a lot because in our market here in Denver, things move so quickly. Things go on the first day, second day, the first weekend on the market, things just disappear. So a lot of times buyers just jump into a house and just buy it like, I'll take it. Now, once they're under contract and things start to slow down and the dust settles a little bit, they might be like, well, this one just came on the market and it's got another bedroom for the same price, or this one just came on the market and it's got a bigger yard, which we were looking for. But the problem is, it's going to disappear too. So I school my buyers in what to expect here, especially once you go under contract. Stop looking on Zillow. Stop the search. Once you're under contract and you've decided that you're going to buy that home, just don't look at anything else. Just focus on that house and be happy with what you're going to do. If you weren't happy in the first place, don't buy it. Don't go under contract. Don't do it. But if you're like, hey, this is the house for us, let's do it. Once we're under contract, go tunnel vision. Just focus on your new home. Don't look at everything else that's going on, because there's always going to be something that comes up that you're going to compare yourself to, or there's always going to be something coming up that you're like, oh, maybe we should jump over here. I'll tell you what's going to happen. If you kill this contract and jump over here, you're going to get outbid on this house and you're going to lose both of them. So buyer's remorse and buyer's cold feet is a tough one, but talk through it with your agent and you'll be just fine. Okay, the last big one we see is contingencies. So contingent offers. What's a contingent offer? A contingent offer is if I was wanting to buy a new home, but I had to sell this home first, I would make an offer on the new home that I saw and say, hey, as part of this offer, I need to sell this house to close on the new one. So it doesn't sound that bad when you kind of talk about it, but there's a bunch of things that can go wrong with this, right? So say we accept the offer, say we're selling this house, and the buyer that's buying this house has a home that he's selling as well, and the whole thing is contingent upon that. Okay, what if his real estate agent sucks and messes a bunch of stuff up and the house falls out of contract? Or what happens if the real estate of the buyer on the buy side sucks and messes everything up? Or what happens if it doesn't appraise? Or what happens if they go through inspection and they have mold everywhere and the whole thing falls apart? So there's just a ton of things with contingent offers which can be real tricky, that are completely out of your control. So as a seller, when a contingent offer comes in, just be very wary. Make sure you check out the situation. Get your real estate agent to call the lender for the buyer of that property. Call the agent, call the title company, call everyone, and do your due diligence before you accept an offer with a contingency on it. Now, contingency offers can completely work. We did one recently with good friends of ours. We sold their home and we made an offer contingent upon the sale of their home, and it all worked out perfectly. We closed both homes in one day and it was phenomenal. But I have seen them go wrong as well. I've seen a contingent offer where we are at the point of appraisal. We're about a week out from closing on our dream home, and then the sale of this home goes south because of an inspection issue that came up, and the whole thing fell apart. It can be tough, and it can be a real heartbreaker if you've got your heart set in a new home but you're relying on this other one. So contingent offers, just be super aware of them. Do your due diligence. Make sure your agent does their due diligence on all the moving parts of those offers, but it is one of the big ways that deals fall through. So there you have it. There's some reasons that deals fall through. It's a really sucky place to be when it happens, and it's tough to watch as someone's agent. When I know this deal's going to fall apart, I'm going to have to be the one that calls you and tells you, hey, this isn't happening. This is what happened. It can really, really suck, and we try our best to never ever let it happen, but unfortunately it does. So at least now you have some of the reasons that you can do your homework on when it comes to buying or selling a home. Try and follow these things. Try not to fall into the trap of some of these different things like your debt to income ratio and liens on the house and contingent offers and stuff like that. If you have any questions, if you want any clarity on any of that, feel free to reach out, drop them in the comments, hit me up on Instagram, wherever you are, and we will talk to you guys again soon with another video with buyers, sellers, and investors, tips and tricks on the Denver real estate market. So until then, peace.